and I'm here with an awesome video because I have three of my very good friends here. I have Erin, Diana, and Jessica, and one thing we all have in common is we love classic movies. So we're just going to answer some fun questions about classic movies, and this should be a really great video. So I'm just going to go down the line so these lovely ladies can introduce themselves.
I'm Erin McGee. You can also find me on Instagram at Miss Honey Hale. I'm just a pinup girl who is a classic film enthusiast.
She's the pinup girl.
That's true.
I'm Diana. I'm at the Dame Upstairs. That's a Double Indemnity reference on Twitter, and I run the blog Flicking Hat.
I'm Jessica. I run Comment Over Hollywood, and you can find me on Twitter at Hollywood Comment.
So my first question for you ladies, and we'll go down the line and then I'll answer the question at the end. The first one is, tell me about one person in the classic movie realm. Could be an actor, could be actress, could be someone who just loves classic movies, is a champion for them, who's had a big impact on your life.
For me, that would be Ginger Rogers. It was Friday Ginger Night on TCM, and that was what made me fall in love with classic film, and I had to find out everything about her. My pinup name, Miss Honey Hale, is actually her character's name in Flying Down Trio. She has had the biggest influence on me. I just love her so much.
That's so cool. I didn't know that about your name.
Mine's not very original. It's Audrey Hepburn. But I remember I was really young one night. I think I was like 7 or something, and there was a documentary about Hollywood fashion that I watched, and there was a segment about her, and I just thought she was the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. But then it turns out that she's actually beautiful on the inside. There was so many conversations, like talking heads in the documentary, the way they spoke about her, and then just learning more about her life and how she survived the war and all these other hardships and then gave back, just really influenced not only, you know, me loving film, but also just how to be a better person. And so there's just so many things that I do that I think, like, what would Audrey do? It's very corny, but she's been with me for like my whole life, and I just love her so much.
Mine would probably be Doris Day. She was my first favorite actress and is still probably my favorite actress. I got into her films when I was in middle school, and she just was very bright and sunny and always seemed on screen very happy. And I also love that she is such an advocate of animals, but she's just always been my favorite.
I love that too. Sorry. But like, because I like being like a cheerful person always felt like not cool, but Doris made that cool.
Yeah.
Like she, like I loved all like her aura, and I just, that's awesome.
Aww.
For me, it's actually Susan Peters, because when I discovered her, I didn't know anything about her, and I felt that she had led this like very young life and like very short life, and then not a lot of people knew about her, and she had this tragic incident where she became paralyzed, and then I thought, wow, like not enough people know about her, and I thought, wow, I should be championing the underdog. So there's like, we have all these like favorite actors and actresses that we love that everyone knows, but then there's also these other people who kind of get lost in the history of things. So for me, it was really important to research her and to talk about her, and I think that is almost like a goodwill mission of mine, so that's been really important to me. Yeah. So my next question for you ladies is, what was the last classic movie you watched and what did you think of it? Or it could be just a movie that you watched recently and was of note.
So I recently saw The City Without Jews from 1924 at a film festival that I went to in Atlanta. And it was like, it's only just been found like a couple of years ago, and it's a silent film from Austria. It was so good, and they even had like live musical accompaniment. Like I felt so lucky to get to see that film in theaters and with the live accompaniment. And they actually like improv'd it like they would have like in the 20s.
Oh, that's so cool.
So they just kind of like were watching the movie with us and then like playing it as they were seeing it for the first time. It was really cool.
That adds to the musical experience when
It
it's
did.
like improvised that way. Yeah.
And it was so awesome.
That's so neat.
Cool. And that was here.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The last movie I saw was Designed for Living. I'm on a big Miriam Hopkins kick. Like, I think she's so cool. I love an unruly woman. So I loved it. It was, first of all, it was her, Gary Cooper, and Frederick March are so gorgeous. Like, like I couldn't get over that. And it also has Edward Everett Horton, he's my man. I love when he comes up on a screen. He's just so funny to me. Yeah, it was great. I really, lately, because of the Classic Film Festival, I've gotten so much more of an appreciation for pre-codes. I never really sought them out, but they're just so important to the history of cinema, and just like where they could and where they went is just really fascinating.
A recent classic film I recently watched was Finian's Rainbow from 1968 for a musical Monday to go along with St. Patrick's Day. I knew it wasn't going to be great, but it was a lot worse than I expected. And I felt bad for Petula Clark and Fred Astaire, who I don't know if they did this just for money. And it was surprisingly directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Who knew? But
I actually didn't know that.
yeah, and Keenan Wynn is in it, and it does have some racial themes in it. I didn't realize that it was a Broadway play in the 40s, and had taken a long time to get to screen because everybody wanted to edit out the racial themes, and the writers really wanted to keep them in. But part of it is Keenan Wynn becomes a black man, and to learn, to appreciate. I don't know, through this, he has a lesson of appreciating other races, and it's very bizarre. It's just not a very good movie, but I had a palate cleanser of Love Affair from 1939, so that made
There you go. For me, the last movie I saw was These Glamour Girls from 1939, and Jessica's a 1939 expert. So I watched it for an article I was writing about the author who wrote the story, Jane Hall, who was a glamour girl herself. And one thing I saw it with kind of a fresh perspective this time, because I had seen it many times before, but she grew up, like the author grew up in a mining town, and then she was orphaned, and then she and her brother were sent off to Manhattan into like this high society. So she was an outsider looking in on this, so all of that outsider looking in and critique of societal mores and things like that, she put into the story. So I saw it and I was like, wow, this is actually satire. I didn't even realize this. So it used to be just a collegiate, comedy with like very sad trajectory for Marsha Hunt's character, but it's a totally different movie now for me.
Wow.
Yeah. So my next question is, as a classic movie lover, what do you love to geek out on?
Fashion. Classic
That makes
films,
sense.
fashion, hair, makeup, that is obviously like something that I try to strive for. Forever trying to have Rita Hayworth hair. Forever trying
That's
to
a
look
great
like
goal.
Lana Turner. So I think definitely the style of female actresses.
That's great.
I think something that I spend a lot of time on that I really shouldn't is going through the archive of old movie magazines. Like, they're all online and you can see them, and they're just so fascinating. Like, what was written, the ads especially.
Those are painful.
And also like the beauty ads and the ingredients are just so crazy that people did this, and I don't know, I just think it's such an interesting snapshot, and those are things that I look for at antique markets. I'm sure you all do and stuff, and I don't know, I just those are things that just aren't around, and they make me feel like I'm there, and I just think that's really cool.
That's hard. I get really excited when I find movies I have never heard of. There are some movies that haven't been shown on TV or released on VHS or DVD, so I really seek out those and try to find, kind of like you were saying, with the underdogs, or maybe they weren't the underdog at the time, but nobody talks about them now. So I really like to seek those out.
For me, it's books. I just love collecting
That makes
classic
sense.
movie books. I run a summer reading challenge every year. I like to encourage other people who are already collecting classic movie books to read them. I love having kind of a library of research just there in my home, and I want to own these things, and I just sometimes will rearrange my books. I just created a research library at home. It's so much fun,
That's amazing.
alphabetizing all of the books, okay, here are the actors' biographies, here's the directors, here's the genre books, and I just have I just like was completely geeking out over my classic movie books, and it just adds to, because it's not enough for me to watch these movies, I need to learn about them, so it just kind of like heightens the experience.
Are you guys like me, where you like watch a movie and then immediately you're like on that movie, like you like go sometimes I'll stop and like
it's in
or
IMDb research.
Yeah, I go on IMDb, I look at the trivia, TCMDB, or like Tumblr, just search the names and stuff, and then I'll be on that movie for like a week. Like I'm still thinking. I'm just really glad other people do this.
Well, for us, it's not enough to consume. We have to consume, and then we have to share, and we have to learn. Because, like, just keeping it all inside would not be enough.
I think like we all probably did this when you first discover a classic film, and then like you watch like you see like a movie like Ginger Rogers, right, for example. And as soon as I saw her, I had to find out her entire filmography. I had to know her entire history, and then to go and like it was like my mission to watch every film she ever did. And so that's like, I think your first realm into geeking out on something classic film related is actors and wanting to know everything.
I did that with Robert Mitchum, for sure. So my next question is, what is the biggest misconception about classic movies? We all have opinions about this, for sure.
So I have like a particular story. We read Rebecca when I was a sophomore in high school, and then we got to watch the film, which I was super excited about. And I remember like all of the kids were complaining, and they were like, black and white movies give me a headache. And I got so angry. They do not give people headaches. I think that's one that still bothers me to this day, because I've still heard, like, I hear people say that. You're just ridiculous.
And a movie just came out last year, Roma, that was in black and white.
Right.
Won Oscars, so.
Or even like the artist.
Yeah.
No.
One thing that gets me, and it's sort of true in a way of like society, but for me, that classic movies weren't feminist, where I feel like there's a lot of really strong characters, especially in the 30s. And that one always gets to me, because I just feel like you just aren't watching movies. I feel like you're like critiquing society rather than actually watching a movie. Because yes, there's definitely some scenes in some movies where you're like, oh my God. But at the same time, the way a lot of women are written, I feel like there's a big step backwards in our current film culture of, like rape is a very big plot device in every movie, and it wasn't in classic movies. Like there was other things, but I never felt like it was always like, for the one example I think of is the Lady Eve. Like I think her character is super feminist. Granted, what she's doing isn't great, but she's also saying like, I don't like the way you've treated me, I'm gonna get back at you and stuff. And yeah, this is I know this conversation is a lot bigger, and you could tweet at me. But I'm just like, I think it's something that people should really look into and, give these movies a shot, especially the pre-code ones.
Yeah, like, I mean, Safe in Hell, too. I mean, like, she's going against somebody who, like, attacked her, and she's fighting back. And, I mean, like, people don't realize that old movies have those kind of stories, so.
I would say, and this might also be your answer, that all old movies are clean. Everybody thinks of Leave It to Beaver and all this stuff that, oh gee golly whiz, there's no such thing as, bad words and sex. Well, these people have never seen a pre-code, obviously. But then even after the code, there was a lot of, the guy would be like, I think this happens in Kitty Foyle. Oh, I'm going to make love to you. And then pan over to the fire. Well, what do you people think is happening there?
Or my favorite is also the waves crashing.
Just fade to black. I mean, there's a lot of, like, they are interacting in an adult manner. So but they had to be a little bit more cagey about it. Now, I honestly prefer it, and this is, again, a larger subject, because they had to be more clever with their dialogue to get things in, rather than, everybody just doing whatever they want now. So.
Yeah, yesterday, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was on, and that movie is so terrifying for reasons you're not thinking about. I feel like it's such a popular title that nobody really knows what goes on.
Right.
And I was reading along on Twitter, and a lot of women were shocked and really horrified. I'm like, Yeah, I was too. Like I remember watching that, and I had to stop it for a bit because it really threw me off.
Well, the other day I was at the doctor's office and I told my doctor, hey, yeah, I write about classic movies. And he was like, oh yeah, those classic movies, they were such terrible actors and they won Oscars.
Here's my heart.
Oh my god!
I was in such shock, I was like,
Don't go back.
He's a really good doctor otherwise. But that's the misconception too, is that it's all melodrama and over the top, but there's some really amazing movies that have like very subtle performances, like for example The Setup from 1949 with Robert Ryan. There's nothing over the top about that movie. Those performances are so nuanced and beautifully performed, and that's an underrated movie for sure, but they're not all over the top melodrama, you know, but people think it's all a woman on tire tracks, like, you know, like people have these misconceptions about it, but it's not. If you have to watch more than just one or two movies. Yeah. So my next question is, what's a classic movie item that you own that you treasure the most?
So this is actually, I just got it recently. Diana gave me the Ginger Rogers autobiography for my birthday. And it's like, I've only had it for a few days and it's already like my most treasured thing. So thank you.
And that's a good thing too, right? That's special.
Yeah, it was a good find. So this isn't a particular thing, but there's a couple of these things that I have. I'm a little older, but when I was younger, American Movie Classics was the classic movie channel, and that's what made me fall in love with movies. I was so obsessed. I had their magazine, because they did one of those like kind of now playing magazines, and I used to record the programming on VHS tapes, and I still have some of those, and there's one that has Laura, and that was like that's still my favorite, like, gateway classic movie. I love it so much. I think I own like 3 different copies because, you know, I went to Blu-ray, I went to DVD, and regular VHS, and I had to have it there. But like those tapes that have like not only the movies but also the like this month on AMC, like visuals and the commercials, and there's even one, they had this like film noir festival, and it's this incredible half-hour special where they saluted film noir, and it's hosted by Winona Ryder.
Wow.
And it was the year that Robert Mitchum passed.
Oh wow.
So they
97.
Yeah, exactly. It says 97 on the VHS, and there was an interview with Jane Russell talking about Robert Mitchum, so that was really cool because they worked together and they were pretty good friends, right? That's on there. Lauren Bacall's there, and she's saluted as well, and you see her react to old clips of her and Humphrey Bogart. So it's just like things that, you know, they're not around anymore, and just to have that footage and just like a snapshot of that time, it's just really cool. I feel, when I watch it, I feel like I'm 11 again. It's a weird thing, but it makes me like
discovering classic films.
It just like makes me like really happy because I just remember seeing that and I was so excited. It still was
The nostalgia is important.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh gosh, that's really hard.
You have a great collection
Yeah.
of stuff.
I mean, I have all like posters and magazines, but I feel like, and this is gonna sound cheesy, but I feel like some of my experiences are probably worth
that counts.
the items, like being at the Turner Classic Movie Film Festival, and the first time I was there and Robert Osborne was like as far from me to the camera introducing something, and that was just my dream, was to be near Robert Osborne. And so I really feel like those experiences and memories are more important to me than any item that I have.
You haven't changed that Twitter photo since.
Of you and him. If someone Googles Robert Osborne, your picture will come up.
It's such a great photo. You look so happy. He looks happy. It looks like you guys have been best friends.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were married according to Google.
So mine's somewhat related to that, besides my Bachelor Mother DVDs, which you all know I love. And for me, it's the Robert Osborne DVD that I got at the TCM Classic Film Festival in 2014. It was the last time he was there, and I got to meet him and he signed it, and I will not even put that with my other movies. That is on my vanity. I look at it every day when I'm doing my hair and makeup, and it's it's tied into that memory of being able to meet him, that one chance I had to meet him, but it's also just like a treasured object, so it has that twofold meaning to me, and yeah, I love it. I just won't, I've taken multiple pictures of it just in case something happens, and then I've like emailed it to like multiple email accounts, so like backups to know that it existed. I posted it on social media, and like, so if for any reason like my house, you know, gets destroyed in a fire, like there's proof that it existed. So my last question is related to the TCM Classic Film Festival. It's going to be Erin's first time, and so Diana, Jessica, and I have all been several times, and it's a great experience. So my question is, what is one of your favorite experiences at the festival? And for Erin, it'll be, what is something you're looking forward to?
I think, oh gosh, it's really hard because like I'm most looking forward to just like meeting other classic film fans and like TCM fanatics. That's like happening right now, and so even this right here is like a dream come true. Because I've been like following, like Diane and I like live local, and, but so we see each other more often. But like I've been following like Raquel and Jessica for like 11 years, and this is the first time that like I've gotten to meet them. But I feel like they're just like old friends who I've just like known forever. So to get to like meet other people who I've interacted with on social media for so long, and just like finally like talk to them in person, and I think that's probably what I'm most excited about. But I'm also excited to have like all of these days of just watching classic films, and there's like nothing else to do. It's just films.
It's awesome.
On the big screen, and I'm really excited about that.
I want to hear all about your first experience. You have to like share as much as possible. I want to live vicariously because we can't do that first experience anymore, but you can.
I feel like I'm gonna be like so overwhelmed. Like it's not gonna feel real for like the first like 3 days.
Yeah, no, it's true. It was one of those things. I'm sure for you guys, it's just it sounds like very dramatic, but it really changed my life. Like meeting people that like also had this interest, and like, I don't know, it made, because I feel like sometimes classic film before Twitter just felt very isolating, because, you know, nobody our age is geeking out over like a movie that was
I got made fun of so bad in school because my locker was like decorated with like black and white actors.
Yeah, so it really
it's your tribe. Your tribe is all collected in this one place.
But my favorite experience so far, I've only been to the past 2, and last year, and you were there, was the Nancy Kwan talk, because just a groundbreaking person, like, in our midst. It was so surreal, like, you know, the first Chinese woman to have international stardom, and she spoke about William Holden, who, that's my man. And it was just really lovely to hear her speak about him and how much he helped her on her first movie, and then just her journey, and you know, about how she did all this, and you know how important it was for representation, and it was just really cool. Like it's so hard to like be in this presence of these people, but then you also realize that they're so moved that people are out in that audience, and they're still, you know, they're legends, and it's really cool.
That's awesome.
My favorite, it was my first festival. It relates to the photo y'all mentioned. In 2013, I went to see the movie Desert Song from the 40s with Dennis Morgan. I'd never seen it. It was unavailable at that time because of some copyright stuff. So I was going just to see it. And I heard some rumors in line that Robert Osborne was going to announce the movie at the beginning, and so I sat down front so I could get a good photo, and then he said, I'm going to stay and watch this because I've never seen it either. So while I watched the movie, I could not focus on it because I was like, Robert's in here. I'm going to try to talk to him afterwards. I need to get a picture. Like just sitting there thinking, do I give him a business card? Which I didn't because that would have been tacky. But so after the movie, I dart out and I wait, and there's this, you know, people of course swarm around him, but I was like, Mister, he was about to walk off, and he was like, Mr. Osborne, can I get a quick picture? And he said, okay, I have to hurry because I'm going to interview Anne Blythe before Mildred Pierce. I said, I'm going there too. And he was in a hurry, but he stopped and took a picture with me. And I was like shaking as I walked away, and I called my mom. But it was a very brief moment, but I met my idol, so yeah.
That's so awesome. So for me, I agree with what Erin was saying. I was just so excited to meet all my friends and develop new friendships, so that's been really wonderful. But one really cool thing that happened to me is I got to meet Dick Cavett on the red carpet. Our friend Mariah, who works at TCM, basically I told her, please, I would love to interview Dick Cavett, and she helped bring him over to my spot on the red carpet. I talked to him, and he was so sweet. And what's really cool about that experience is that the first ever blog post I wrote in 2007 was about the Dick Cavett show when he had Alfred Hitchcock on. And like years later, here I am with him in front of me and I get to talk to him. And I was like, that is like, everything's coming full circle. It was just such a magical moment. So that was great. And one thing too, what we did today, and I'll just add this as a little tidbit, is that we were all at TCM today. We got to have a little tour and that was amazing. What did you guys think? Well, Diana, you've been there once.
Yeah.
Or a couple times
Just
before.
once before.
But Jessica and I have never gone.
It was something I've always wanted to do, so I was excited to
And getting to see Ben Mankiewicz set was
That was awesome.
amazing. It was just like weird being there. You see it on TV like almost every day, you know?
Yeah.
I just think more than anything is the staff is so nice and they really love the movies as well. And so it's nice to me, TCM has never felt like a channel. It's felt like a community. It's felt like my safe space. Like it's a part of my daily routine. Like I come home and I turn on TCM. I wake up, I turn on TCM. Like that, it really is. So it's just so nice to be able to have the relationships we've built with the staff because it's just more than a channel.
Yeah, it was just, So I'll include some photos of our experience, but that was really cool. Well, thank you ladies for coming on to my channel.
Yeah.
Hope you guys
Thanks for
liked the
having us.
video. Bye.
Bye.